So congratulations on the new album. It's out today, right?
It is. Thank you, sir. We're very stoked. It's a bit of weight off our shoulders, and it just feels good to have it out there.
Yeah. Because I know that I guess last year is considered kind of your breakthrough year, and
yeah,
with the second album. So now, was there a lot of pressure with this record after that, or was it easier?
There was a lot of pressure, but I don't think it was by any means unexpected by us. We sort of knew that people would be expecting the same caliber of music, if not, for us to step it up a bit. And if anything, I think that just spurred us on to get to work. And we actually like to work to a deadline, and it sort of encourages us to get moving. And so the pressure was okay with us. We didn't mind it. It helped.
It helped?
Yeah.
That's good. Because you guys, from what I've read, most of the songwriting comes from you guys jamming together. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
So it's kind of hard to be uptight when you're jamming anyway, and stressed out, right?
Of course, and there's never any rules, and there's never any sort of main focuses or goals that we have in mind when we start those ideas early up in the process. It's just sort of us spilling out whatever we feel like playing.
Yeah. And you've got a great following here in New Zealand. My studio is right around the corner from the power station, which you guys sold out, I think, last year, right?
Yeah. That was a good show.
What do you remember about it, if anything?
I do. I remember the venue was it's one of those ones with a mezzanine, and it's awesome to be able to play in places like that because everyone can have eyes on you, and we just relish that environment. That's the thing that's most important to us, is just having that connection between the stage and between the audience. And a place like the power station is fantastic to do stuff like that. I remember we met the 660 boys for the first time after that show. They came along and we had some drinks with them after everyone had left the venue. And then, as you know, we've just got back from earlier this year from playing in New Zealand with them and supporting them in their tour.
Right. And how was that?
Oh, fantastic! They're lovely gentlemen, and their music's incredible, and it's actually really inspiring to watch how far they move their fellow countrymen and women with their music, and such a connection. And I think New Zealand in particular really hold on. They have a very unique and very strong affiliation with their musicians and with their artists. Fat Freddy's Drop is another one. You walk into every store and every person from every walk of life loves listening to that music. And it's really cool to see New Zealanders have such a strong musical identity. And 660 just carry on that tradition for sure.
So when you're touring with another band like that, does that change how you present yourself to possibly their audience instead of yours?
Totally not. It's us. I don't think it would be right to change your show or change how people are perceiving you, just based on the audience. We want to be ourselves and we want to play our music, and it was just a great opportunity to be along for the ride with 660.
So this album, Lonely Diamond, is your third album, and usually people have the difficult second album, but you didn't seem to have that problem. Did you look at this as that?
Again, from that first point we were talking about, there was that kind of doesn't cross our minds. We just, it sounds like we're kind of a bit aloof and a bit, don't really care much, but I think that's how we create our music. And that's why we have a unique sound, is because we just go with the flow. And it sounds a bit cliche to say that, but that's truly just what we do.
Right. So do you notice things changing when the band is creating new music from, say, your first record or when you first got together to now? Is there a difference, or is it just a continuation of what you've been doing?
Yeah, there's the same buzz and the same enthusiasm from all of us, but we're just getting better at working together and getting better at the whole process, as you can imagine. And things happen quicker, and we're more bold in our decision making because we're probably more confident with our abilities to write and to compose music. So That's maybe why there's some pretty out there styles on this record. The kind of spaghetti western vibes, the intro and outro track, and the second
Right.
last track, Questa. Because we just, we needed to write some more songs, and we went, bugger it, we'll just do what we want and stick to our guns. And I don't think in previous records we were as confident. So this time around, that's what feels like the major thing that's changed.
Well, I mean, if you're going to be in a band, you should be doing what you want to do. There's just no point.
Exactly right. Yeah, true. That's, and we've never been in any other bands. This is our first and only band for all of us. And so we can't really imagine doing it any other way.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, you mentioned the first and last track were kind of that spaghetti western thing. And so I've listened to the album several times, but I don't have like credits, songwriting and all that. So is the songwriting spread throughout the band, or is there one, is like Baden the main guy, or you, or how does it work?
We all write it's a jamming thing, and we all write our own parts, and we all have input in the whole process. And if you want to get down to the nuts and bolts, the songwriting
definitely
credits is split even between the six of us,
right?
Regardless of the song, and regardless of all the variations in the amounts of input between each songs, and that just is reinforcing our relationship and reinforcing to each other that everyone's an important cog in the machine, and everyone's input is valued. And without everyone having input, we wouldn't be able to create the music that we do.
Yeah, it's a good way to keep the band together as well. Everybody's
taking... even cuts. Yeah. And it's a good way to make sure people are giving enough of themselves too. If everyone's getting an even share, then you're expected to pull your weight, equally.
Right. So I'm hoping we can touch just on a couple of tracks. We won't go through the whole thing. But the one that's out now is Hot Chicken, which I think is the new single.
Yeah.
Which, how can you resist Hot Chicken, right? So
exactly.
Tell me how that came about.
Hot Chicken, it started as a bit of a joke, really, and a bit of a jam that we would interrupt our recording sessions with. We were watching a comedy show by an American comedian called Eric Andre, and in the segment he sings this really stupid song to kind of creep out his guest for that segment, and his guest is Jack Black. And I don't know, it was really hilarious to us, and we emulated that sound, and we thought the beat was groovy and grimy and and very playful. And so once we started playing around with that sound, we decided we liked it so much. Baden went away and put some lyrics to it, and actually what he came back with was not very joking lyrics. They're quite serious and dark and ominous lyrics about temptation and about getting stuck in bad habits, etc. And so it's strange how it evolved from a joke song to what it is now. But I think, that being said, the way that the song finally turned out is very unapologetic, and it's very it is what it is, and it doesn't make any excuses for that. And I think that's kind of interesting that it came from a joke and a bit of a muck around. Yeah,
you never know. And I'll put you on the spot for a little bit now. Maybe you can pick out a track that you want to talk about rather than me asking you random questions.
Well, let's talk about the track All Worn Out.
Okay.
That's a slow song. It's lyrically, it's the low point of the record, and it's situated in the middle, just before the center part of the record. And that song was written by the keyboardist Lachlan, and it's probably the song that had the least amount of stuff done to it after that initial idea. And we thought that was appropriate to give that song that kind of treatment. And it was one where Locke showed us the chords and showed us the idea and played it to us, and immediately we looked at each other and said, oh, this is just, it's one of those ones that kind of writes itself in the way that we didn't think it needed to have too much added to it. And on that track, we also have some guest musicians. We have a cellist by the name of Lara King. She's a good friend of ours. And the saxophonist, Will Morrissey. He plays in a couple of Australian bands. But by inviting them to add their parts and different instruments, which none of us can play, I think also allowed us to not fill the space up and cram the space with too much of our playing. And those parts are simple, but they're effective. You know, the cello immediately gives you this somber feeling and this sad feeling. And the saxophone at the end is a passionate instrument and an optimistic instrument. And that's what that lends to that section of the song. And that's done all without us being involved. And so I think that was great for us to be able to go down that path. We don't always play with guest musicians. Right. But it was a pleasure working with them. It was easy. They're very talented, and they've done nothing but add to the song.
Do you worry about like losing control over your music when you're giving it up to somebody else who's contributing?
Yeah, well, pretty much the way that All Worn Out went is we had the song written, and we just had them to sort of interject and overdub parts, and we gave it up and we gave it to them, because who are us, you know, to tell the cellist and the saxophonist how to play their instruments. And so that's the wonderful thing about music, and that's what's special to us. It's about connecting people, and so we didn't want to tell them what to do. We wanted them to connect with the music, and through that connect with us, and what they did was amazing, and that's why it's on the record.
Yeah, okay. Now, these are strange times to be a musician. I mean, here's your record is out today, and you're stuck talking to me instead of out playing. So
yeah, I know. And people are asking, what are we going to do for a release party? And I think the only thing that we can do is go down in groups of 10 to the pub and have a quiet beer rather than a raging party. But yeah, it is testing times. I think easier than some other professions and some other people with jobs. At least with a musician, if you can support yourself through these hard times, you've got a lot more time to play and practice your craft. So yeah, that's a positive.
And did you do that?
A little bit. I'm doing a lot of surfing, but yeah.
I had a feeling that might enter into it.
We live right near the beach, so Angus and I live in the flat together, and with some other gentlemen, and we just spend all day surfing and tinkering out on guitars. And half the band are up living in Byron Bay now, so we sort of pass notes over the internet, and we're both jamming in those two little groups and just enjoying time spent with family and friends, and until tour kicks off again, because once we get back on the road as per usual, it's go.
Yeah. And hopefully they'll get that kind of travel bubble thing between New Zealand and Australia going, so you can come over here as well.
Yeah, that'll be the first. That'll be the first stop, I think, on our first international stop, because of that very fact. And we're so excited to get over there again, because it feels like a second home to us.
Yeah. Well, I got a new flatmate, and I told her I was doing an interview, and she's like, "Oh, who with?" And I said, and her eyes just bugged out of her head.
New Zealanders get it. They get around our music, and I think there's similar vibes with the similar roots vibes and similar rock vibes that New Zealanders are very comfortable listening to, and so that's, I think, why they enjoy it.
Have you had a chance to surf over here?
I have surfed over there. My girlfriend is from Christchurch. And
oh, great.
I've spent a lot of time surfing at Sumner there, and I've spent a lot of time surfing at Kaikoura. And I've done some surfing on the west coast near Greymouth as well. I've driven around quite a bit with her. So New Zealand does feel like a second home to me. And the surf is A class over there, and there's less people than in Australia, so that's a positive.
Yep. I remember the first time I came here before I moved here from the States, I was driving down along the seaboard, and it was just miles of empty shore. It was beautiful sand, nobody anywhere. It was amazing. Like,
and you've never left.
That's true. That is. I still haven't lost the accent, though. Not much I can do about that. So, is there anything else I need to know about this album before we wrap it up? What else can you tell me about it?
I don't think so. I think it's just, as we've discussed, it's probably our most thoughtful record, and we're just ready to get it out. And this means that, you know, there's a quote by Nelson Mandela where he says, I'm paraphrasing, something along the lines of, you know, after you've reached the top of the hill, enjoy the view and have a look around, but you look up and there's another hill to go. And so it feels like we just, you know, we shouldn't dwell on this moment too much, and we need to move on to the next stuff. And it's encouraging that our music gets received so well, because it just means that we can keep doing this.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sitting down and talking to me. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you around the corner at the power station again sometime soon.
Yeah, maybe somewhere bigger, hopefully.
Yeah, or even bigger. That's right. We can move up to the Spark Arena. Very good.
Spark Arena sounds good.
All right. Very good.
Marty,
all right. Well, have a nice day, and have a couple of drinks for me at the bar tonight.
I will. Thanks,
Very
boss.
good. Bye-bye.
Ciao.